I really miss Nintendo DSi sound. Nintendo, could you please put a music application on the Switch? Like, even if it's like, I don't know, Apple Music or Spotify, could you please put it on the Switch? Please? Okay, bye. Hello, everybody. Blood Moon Bobby here, and so April 5th was the ninth anniversary of the Nintendo DSi's American release. As I move my autofocus point back to the center, and so it's been 9 years. It was released April 5th, 2009. Full transparency, I didn't buy it on day one, mainly because I didn't really think about upgrading my DS at the time. I still owned an original DS, and it was getting in pretty bad shape. But I remember it was June 26, 2009 that we actually got it. And of course, I'll show it to you guys. It is in blue because my sister Penny is a big fan of blue, and they didn't have my personal preference, which is red. Obviously, you could see the rear-facing camera on the front. It was only 0.3 megapixels VGA resolution. Unfortunately, let me actually get that up here for you. So, yeah, VGA resolution, 0.3 megapixels. That's quite a few less than the 12 megapixel camera on my iPhone 7, isn't it? So, on the side, you've got your... This was actually the first DS to use a volume rocker, and the paint on mine is coming off. But yeah, it's not a slider switch. It's buttons just like on the Nintendo Switch. And front here, this was actually the first DS not to have a GBA slot. So yeah, I played a few GBA games on my original DS, but yeah, it wasn't too often. The right side, you've got the SD card slot here for storing the pictures you take and music. Check that out here. Get that back in. And by the way, I'm missing my DSi stylus. So in the back, you got your DS cartridge port. Unfortunately, like a lot of you guys, my DSi shoulder buttons don't work. Yeah, I tried playing a little bit of Mario Kart, and even when towards the time I stopped using the DSi, like right around the time I got my 3DS, the shoulder buttons wouldn't work too much. I tried removing the dust on them, like on the sides, but nothing has really worked out. Maybe one of these days I'll give it a good cleaning, but unfortunately right now it's not working too well. So let's get this back down. So, but rather than talk about the DSi as a gaming device to celebrate its 9th anniversary in the States. I know in Japan they released it in November 2008, so technically 2018 is the DSi's 10th anniversary, although this video is coming out in April, so we're still a ways away from that 10th anniversary. So interestingly enough, looking back, I always wanted to do a DSi anniversary video, but what struck me about the DSi and looking back is, in a weird way, it actually got me started. Like, it set me on my path on learning about digital arts. You know, it's so weird thinking that, like, I always knew, like, the DSi was technically the first camera that I used consistently. Like, I took this on a trip. I'll even show you some photos in the video. I took this on trips to Canada. I was in British Columbia and Alberta. And actually, I did visit Vancouver a few months before the Vancouver 2010 Olympics, but the merchandise was crazy expensive. And I took this, and yeah, I took a lot of pictures, and I basically just fell in love by taking pictures using the DSi on those two trips. And not only that, but I realized that Flipnote Studio, in case you guys don't remember, it is Nintendo's animation application. Um, it's actually the first time I really dabbled in not only animation, but learning about things like using different brushes and using layers. So let's actually start off with going into the camera here. So yeah, it's actually really interesting. When I took this up to Canada and Washington, D.C., it was really the first time I used a digital camera consistently, and I actually enjoyed it. And looking back, some of these pictures aren't too bad. Like this one here, I took of this mountain or a rock. If you're in Canada and could tell me what that location was, feel free to tell me. I believe this was in somewhere in Alberta. And yeah, you could see back then I didn't really have a sense of composition. Like this East Side Mario's is kind of at an angle, and yes, there are East Side Mario's in Canada. Also, I took pictures near the city hall. There's this museum that's not properly composed, but some of them didn't turn out too bad. Like this one of the where is that statue photo? This one here, and this town hall here. Which somebody could tell me. I took this picture. This was actually the Olympic flag. If you could see it, I mean, I don't know if you. I don't think you could see it. It's all like wrinkly. Even if I were to bring this up, yeah, you can't see it. I took this picture. This was right before Vancouver hosted the Olympics. This is not Vancouver Town Hall. This is someplace else. I think this was in Alberta, and yeah, I was flying. I was really trying to take a picture of it, but as you probably know, the DSi's camera doesn't zoom, so there was really no point in doing that. So yeah, that is basically it. There's me drinking coffee when I was young. Actually, no, that was a hot chocolate. And no, that was unfortunately not at a Tim Hortons, although I did try a Tim Hortons near my hotel in Richmond, BC, and that was actually pretty cool. I wish they opened a Tim Hortons in California. And so, yeah, it's really amazing. Like, this was the first camera I got to use, and it's amazing because today now I work at a college newspaper where I'm taking pictures and doing videos of them. I've been to things like sports games, I've been to conventions, I've been to political protests at my school, and all of that is pretty much thanks to where I got my start, which was the DSi here. And it's funny, when I took this to DC, a lot of kids made fun of me because back then they associated the DS and Nintendo with being kiddie. Well, now the joke's on them because now I'm a multimedia editor at my newspaper, so it was definitely worth taking those pictures in DC. And I'll show a few here in the video. I unfortunately don't have them stored on my DSi's memory. They were all stored, or most of them, I should say, were stored on a memory card, which I've since lost. I have backed up those DC photos up to my Bobby Agake photography Flickr page, and I'll post a few photos here in the video. Okay, so Flipnote Studio, and to kind of get things out of the way, Flipnote Hatena was really the first sort of YouTube I got to use. It was basically the first social media platform I ever got to use. In case, for kind of a quick refresher, of course, Flipnote Hatena, it basically it was an online platform that let you watch other people's Flipnote Studio animations, and I remember it used to be a lot of fun going on there. Like some of my favorite franchises included or favorite series, I should say, were the Stupid Finger People Weirdos, the Super Mario Brothers, and also Gizmo's flip notes. Like, I remember he would do flip notes where there would be two guys, and one of them would try to do something that was logically impossible. Like, there was one where the guy claimed that cell phones could kill bees, and it shows a person using a cell phone, and there was a bee flying by, and it exploded. And also there was one that I remembered where he claimed he could grow another foot, and you're thinking, oh, he's going to grow another foot taller, but what happens is that a literal foot grows out of his head, so that was a lot of fun. And I also made my own flip notes. It was actually, there was a lot more carnage in them than I remember. I'll show you. I uploaded a couple of them, so if you want to watch them at any time, you could also, like, just look at like this life test flip note I made. And yes, life test was basically like my more violent, more gruesome version of stick figure physics, in case you're wondering. But yeah, it's so weird because as a kid, I was not one for like really watching like really violent movies, or like I was, as a kid, I was one of those that, like, even if there was like a slight drop of blood, I would like run away from the screen, you know, or if a character was gonna like pull out a gun, I was just like, nope, that's it, I can't watch it, too violent. And obviously now I've, gotten used to it. I guess in a way, like making these more violent flip notes, like this was basically my way of dealing with it, like, just making it on my own. It's kind of hard to explain how that kind of helped me get used to like movie violence. Like, I guess just doing it on my own, like creating my own sort of fears, kind of helped me out, I guess. But yeah, it's so weird because it's like if you go into edit, there's actually quite a few advanced Photoshop like tools in Flipnote Studio. Like, you could change like the different brushes you want to use, different erasers and so forth. But I mean, like when you go over into the next setting, you could work with layers, and you could copy parts of the Flipnote if you wanted to use it in another frame. Now, in the case of Flipnote Studio, layers were basically deduced down into different colors. So if you wanted to use a black color, that was its own layer. If you wanted to use red, that was its own layer. So, as I hold back a burp. But yeah, it's very interesting. And also, you could copy and paste a part of an animation if you wanted to do that. You could even like copy a frame, like if you were working on a scene and you wanted to keep things like let me move on a little from here. Like when I was making this, I wanted to keep the volcano and the stick figure in the same frame. So when I would copy it, I didn't have to redraw the volcano and the person. The next frame I could just focus on getting that lava to come even closer to that stick figure. So yeah, that's really amazing. Like this is where I started to learn Photoshop like tools like the layers and the copying. And of course, Flipnote Studio, you could even copy an entire frame, or use pictures from the DSi camera, and it'll basically turn it into a black and white scene. And you could also record your own audio. Of course, I did the voice, but you could also record like sound effects. Like if you wanted to put a punching sound effect, you would record it here. Or if you wanted to record, I don't know, let's say you're making like gunshot noises, you could do that. You could actually store up to 3 and then use them at any time. So if you wanted to use that sound effect, you would play the flip note and just basically press that sound effect when you wanted to use it. So yeah, it's actually quite amazing. For an easy to use animation application, Flipnote Studio actually gave you quite a few tools to play with. I mean, in my opinion, it's definitely easier to use than Flipnote Studio for the 3DS. So, for some strange reason, I guess I just kind of fell out of love with the Flipnote Studio application, because by the time Flipnote Studio 3DS came out, I forget its original name. I was already learning how to use Photoshop, so it just became sort of a natural evolution, to go from Flipnote Studio and onto Adobe Photoshop. Like, I first learned how to use Photoshop CS2, and then I moved up to Photoshop CC. And in the case of photography, I went from taking pictures on a DSi, and then after I got back from that Washington, D.C. trip, I bought a Nikon Coolpix L110, a mega zoom camera, and then I got the Nikon D5000, the D7000, and then the D300S. And I'm currently using a D7000 to shoot this video. So, yeah, in a sense, the DSi was actually where I got my start creatively, at least in terms of digital. Like, as a kid, I always loved to draw, but the DSi was the first system that gave me a lot of creative tools to play with. So on its 9th anniversary in the US, or soon to be 10th anniversary in Japan, I salute the DSi. It's really amazing when you look back on things. You actually learn that, one, you're not as bad as you think you were, and two, there was actually a lot to play with, more than you think, back then. So yeah, that's basically it. This is me. I'm saluting the DSi for being one of the very first creative toolboxes I got to play with. So this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thanks for watching. Hey guys, this has been a Blood Moon Bobby video. Please like this video or dislike it, and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.